Alright, I gotta be real. First off, I did not think I was gonna make it this far in this tournament. If you're watching this right now, this is the finals. This is for the whole enchilada. This is all the tacos in the box. This is every single chicken nugget in sight. And this is against Buffalo again. Now, we have an interesting scenario here where I suspected that they would be up to some counter teaming, thanks to the fact that I played somebody in round 4, them being in participating clubs. They could just be like, hey, let me see the replay, and, you know, yeah, sure, that would have worked out. So I figured, hey, you know what, I would do the same thing. I would say, hey, to my friend that actually played this guy the last round, I would say, hey, let me see your replay, and then I can see if there's anything specific I need to look out for, recognize what my win conditions are and stuff like that. And I realized my original team comp had a better matchup than the revised one from the last round. So I decided to go with that. But it turns out that the team that he went with in round 5 is drastically different than the one he brought to round 6. So the one that he actually brought to round 6 pretty much has, I want to say, damn solid checks and counters for like nearly everything I can throw at him. But based on the knowledge I had, I'm going to try to put together bits and pieces and see what we can work with. So the first one I have going on is that I'm pretty damn sure his Rotom's choiced. So with that knowledge in mind, I'm going to protect, see what he wants to lock into, go into Manectric, and then get the Volt Absorb right there. So if he wasn't choiced and he went for a Hydro Pump right there, hey, big boy pants on, you know, it ended up being 100% different. But the thing is it's not. So I'm actually going to go ahead and just Mega Evolve right now. The switch to Landorus is extremely obvious. Man, T-Tar was a very safe switch here. Especially because he could have scouted whether or not I had Hidden Power Ice or Hidden Power Grass. It was a very big impulse of mine to bring Hidden Power Grass, but I figured Ice has a little bit more practicality, especially against Landorus and Gliscor. And, you know, being on a rain team, I can't really rely on Overheat to hit harder than Hidden Power Ice or Grass in the first place. But right off the bat, I also learned that this Landorus is Scarfed. I think I don't learn this until games 2 or 3, obviously, because it just dies right now. But I think in like game 2 or some shit like that, it outspeeds my Keldeo when I'm behind a sub. So like, oh, okay, you know, I might as well check it out. So right here, based on this damage, I really do think his T-Tar is just here to be a Weather Disruptor / Stealth Rock setter, because the Volt Switch actually does a little bit more than I thought I would. Even at +1, I'm pretty sure Special Defensive T-Tar takes that a lot better. So I'm going to go into Keldeo right now. Something I also changed up between round 5 and round 6 that I realized did not really match my playstyle is I don't have any setup sweepers. If there's anything you guys know, I love a damn good sub SD set, or like a sub Calm Mind set, sub Nasty Plot, sub anything. You know how that works. But I needed a setup sweeper, and I'm like, you know what? Water fighting is not terrible coverage. We can go with that. But I do not want to set up subs around Mega Gardevoir, because number one, that does look like his Mega outside of Tyranitar, but I really do think that's Tyranitar's original purpose here, to be Weather Disruptor. That, and I think we already saw, did we see leftovers on it? Yeah, we saw leftovers on it, so whatever. But I want to set up a sub on Gardevoir, going back to that, because Hyper Voice will go through subs, and Calm Mind ain't going to do shit to stop that. So, I think the best thing I wanted to do here was to actually get damage off on it, on the off chance that he wanted to predict me switching and, you know, go for a Calm Mind or some kind of utility move or something of the sort. A Safe Scald combined with some burn damage was hopefully going to get the job done. Burn and Sandstorm would have been a little bit more secure for freaking Tornadus to come in and U-turn, but it's still looking like a pretty good range. I'm even at the point where I would say, you know, Manectric's Volt Switch could be a pretty aggressive enough bluff for me to just get out of there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm actually going to go ahead and go for a Volt Switch. I really do think he would have been able to take it, but you know what? He doesn't have any ground types, so he was probably expecting, you know, hopefully not a Volt Switch? I don't know. Probably a Volt Switch, I guess. But now he brought in his own Volt Switcher, so whatever. That kind of works out too. I didn't see lefties on this thing. So things it could have been, instead of being choiced, it could have been Resto, Chesto, I'm assuming it could have been Citrus Berry. I really didn't know what it wanted to do, if it was choiced or not. So I'm just going to go ahead and Protect again, just to see what he is going to go for. And I am actually going to go ahead and switch out into something that can take the Volt Switch a little bit better. I do not have anything that is immune to the Volt Switch anymore, which is why Mega Swampert would have been so great here. I'm pretty sure Mega Swampert does give a shit about Hydro Pump and Will-O-Wisp, but, you know, Volt Switch, having two immunities on that in the same team, one that changes when I Mega, though. Or, actually, no, I wouldn't have Mega Swampert and Mega Manectric at the same time. But Mega Swampert would have been great, because that would have been a hard immunity the entire time, and it would have gotten some nice momentum. But he goes into Conkeldurr, and this sucks, because Fuba is actually now specially defensive, just to prepare for Draco's Hyper Voices, things of that nature. I found that since I had a physically defensive Politoed, I'd had nothing for, like, Thunderbolts or anything like that. So, there was a lot of pressure on Politoed, specifically because of its bulk to take physical hits, and I didn't want to put, you know, I didn't want to have Fairthorn doing the exact same thing. So, I'm going to go out into freaking Bird Natus here, and I'm actually going to go ahead and go for a Life Orb Hurricane to hopefully take it out from full, but much to my dismay, he has max in special defense, and that lets him live with a very, very small chunk. And the other thing that makes me think that his team was pandered a little bit to deal with mine is his Conkeldurr has Thunder Punch. I don't ever see that. Ever. Did I mention ever? Like, seriously, ever. I'd never see Thunder Punch on Conkeldurr. That's such a rogue thing to do. Which, I mean, I don't necessarily mind, because I think a knockoff would have been pretty safe there, too. Revealing that he had Thunder Punch in Game 1 is really valuable knowledge for me for the future, and I think if he had a different move, he could have used it just, you know, to keep that surprise very nasty in the future. I wasn't sure whether or not a Rock Slide was going to kill from that range, or whether or not it was going to outspeed a Choice Scarf Rotom Wash. I did not want to risk it, and I figured, you know what, if the Scarf's going to get dumped, it's going to get dumped right now. But he actually just goes ahead and goes for a Volt Switch, and I believe he's going to go back into Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr's a freaking problem for me. I don't have a lot of switches for it at all. I didn't have a lot of switch-ins for it in the tournament at all, which is once again why Mega Swampert would have been nice, you know, against non-bulk up variants, since Conkeldurrs tend to be pretty, you know, specially defensive and whatnot. And, you know, Swampert's team player. Swampert can definitely take a couple of hits, but I have to let Fuba just die so I can get a safe switch into, something else. This thing is a massive threat, and, you know, hopefully Iron Barb's damage will help me out there, and I can just bring in something else that is a little bit more adequately prepared for this thing, which unfortunately all I've really got is Politoed and, you know, Rain Boosted Scald, and I can see how much that does, but I don't have high hopes for it, especially because this thing is probably just going to straight shut me down. So go for Scald right here. And what do you know, it does not do enough. I don't get a burn, which, believe it or not, actually would have been relevant, because I learned that his Conkeldurr is actually Iron Fist and Max Attack, which explains its damage output, as well as the damage that, well, the damage I'm doing to it is kind of made evident just by, you know, just by this max special defense that it has going on. So, I'm going to go into Kabutops right here and go for a Rain Boosted Aqua Jet. Hope it knocks it out from that range, and thankfully it does. Oh my god, Kabutops bringing in the clutch is what I have to do here. Now, I did not realize that Kabutops was going to be this valuable of a team player up until this round. Just because, you know, he does have Tyranitar around. I do have Low Kick for it, which I decided to go for right now. I only used it twice in this tournament, but every time I used it, it dropped something. Seriously, everything that wants to switch into it, he magically gets one-shot by it, and I think it's great. So Kabutops manages to claim 2 lives right there. And Talonflame's going to come in. I have HP investment in this thing specifically made for the fact that if I want to take 2 Banded Brave Birds, I can do so with a little bit, get some life, or he can get some recoil going on, and I have enough offensive investment. Actually, Talonflame just doesn't have a lot of defense, period, but I can knock it out with a Life Orb Aqua Jet. So look at that. I thought I was behind, and Kabutops says, come the fuck at me, and takes out half of his team. So things are not out of the way yet. That was a 3 versus 1, and Kabutops came out, you know, a better man in my eyes for it. Shout out to Kabutops, you know. He's awesome. So, Manectric gonna come in right now. I don't have a lot of options here outside of, like, maybe going for a Thunder. And you know what? I honestly thought he was choice, and it turns out I learned here that he's not. I don't know what he is, but if he was choiced, a modest one would have outsped me by a couple of points. and it's actually this play that ends up costing me the game, because although I can knock him out with the Volt Switch right here, I'm not sure if he had another, I think he had one more Pokemon after this, but I'm actually right at the amount of HP where I would die to a, Sandstorm again. And I think his last, no, I killed off T-Tar. What do you have left? I'm really curious as to how close that game 1 actually would have been. But I unfortunately do lose game 1. Let me see what he has left going on. I think he had Gardevoir a little bit. I don't think I took out Gardevoir. I definitely could have taken out Gardevoir with a Volt Switch if I lived with like 1 more HP. So super, super close. Super, super awesome game 1. And that's what we got going on for this one. I do still have another game coming up after this, so don't worry about that. We're down, but we're not quite out yet. So if you guys are enjoying, you know, the entire series as well as just this game in particular, you can go ahead and leave a like rating, comment, subscribe, and do your thing. You guys know how that works, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Later.